Hi everybody, my name is Neil Malek and I'm from a company called Knack Training, and in this video I want to break down for you the ideas around communication and collaboration specifically in the Microsoft Office 365 environment, the latest and greatest version of the software as of the date of this recording. And I think it's a good idea to label this video as being about communication and collaboration because everybody gets what that is in a business environment. When you want to communicate with somebody, you have so many different ways of communicating with them. If you want to work together with them, if you want to work on a project or on a file with them, you have a few different ways of making that happen. And what I'd like to do is I'd like to talk about that main thread. And in doing so, we'll be talking about a number of different pieces of software and tools that Microsoft has created for us over the years and sort of build the picture as to the way things are done today. Now, before we get off the ground with this, I just want to go ahead and put this out there. There are two things that you can use after this session to help you to pull this apart a little bit more thoroughly. The first is you can always email me at help@knacktraining.com to ask any follow-up questions off of this recording. And the second is that I put up every day, 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, a new video tutorial on a site called youtube.com/everydayoffice. And there you'll be able to find a ton of information about collaboration and the other tools in the Office suite. Okay, so where are we going in this video? We're going to talk about Skype, Teams, Office 365 groups, Planner, SharePoint, Outlook, a number of different tools that we can use, of course, to communicate and collaborate. And specifically, what I'm going to be showing you is how in creating an Office 365 group and then creating a team, we will have the tools necessary to chat, to send messages, to co-author files, to schedule meetings with one another, to work on various other tools and have it be sort of looped together. So what are all these things and what do they mean for us? Well, you've probably at some point or another touched on all three of these different tools in the Microsoft suite: SharePoint, Outlook, and Skype. SharePoint is a collaboration space. It's where we go when we decide we need to share our files with our coworkers. When we're moving from saving our files to the hard drive to saving our files to a shared space, SharePoint is the way we make that happen. SharePoint also has tools for sharing calendars, sending messages, things like that. But it's not an intuitive space, and very often when a company buys SharePoint, it turns into a ghost town. Nobody's really sure how to make things happen, how different tools work, and it ultimately doesn't go very well. Now, Outlook everybody uses. I don't really need to tell you what Outlook is for, but really you need to focus on where the shortcomings of Outlook are. Outlook is about being able to work for yourself. Now, it is a space for messaging other people. It's a space for scheduling meetings. But when it comes to real collaboration, think about sharing a file with 5 people at your company. If you use Outlook to share a file with 5 people at your company, you'll probably get 3 responses from different people where they suggested edits, and now you're the one who's tasked with trying to put that file together, the edits from 3 different people. So being able to collaborate with a group or consistently share with the right group of people is very difficult in Outlook because that's not the point in Outlook. The point in Outlook is for you to be able to send emails, receive emails, organize your emails, keep your calendar, and that's about it. When it comes to real collaboration and when it comes to communicating around files and things like that, it's really tedious. And finally, we have Skype, which Microsoft actually bought. And Skype is great for being able to do text chat, audio chat, video chat. And while you're doing video chat, you can send files back and forth. You can screen share, do those sorts of things. But really, it's never been fully integrated into the rest of the Office 365 environment. And so it's great for being able to have those sort of online meetings, to do a phone call, or to send a message, but it doesn't really tie together with the rest of the spaces. So what Microsoft did recently was they saw a tool called Slack out there in the world, and they said, you know what, they get a lot of things right. Let's go ahead and figure out a way to sort of tie everything together and organize ourselves in the most logical way possible. Now, of course, from our perspective as people who use the Office suite, who use SharePoint, who use Skype, having another layer of changes is not great for us, but ultimately, hopefully, if we think they're getting things right, we'll go, okay, so this is the new and improved way of doing things. So the first layer that I need to talk to you about is called an Office 365 group. Now you may think to yourself, what is this newfangled thing that I've never heard of before? But it's really a critical and core piece to everything you're going to be doing for the next decade. And it's based off this basic premise. If you have a group of people at a company who work together, they're going to need to be able to collaborate, and here are the things they're going to need to be able to do. Send messages to each other, right? Email back and forth. People are going to need to be able to email them, email the whole group. The group is going to need to be able to email back and forth about their projects. They're going to need to have a shared location where they can all work together on their files. They'll need to be able to, when a new person joins their group, they need to be able to track the progress, what decisions they made along the way. They need to be able to point to where the information came in from and what they decided upon. And they'll need to be able to have meetings, right? Thousands and thousands of meetings. And those meetings will need to be in person. They'll need to be phone calls. They'll need to be video. They'll need to be chats, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So what Microsoft decided to do was, okay, this feels like a big picture thing, right? A group of people at a company need to collaborate. What do we need to give them so that they can collaborate effectively? Let's make a new thing that we call an Office 365 group. And when you make an Office 365 group, here's what you're going to get. You're going to make an email address for everybody on the team that anybody who wants to can email that email address, and everybody on the team will receive that message. It's going to have a shared inbox. It's going to have an easy way for us to message each other. We'll also have a shared calendar just for this team of people, and that calendar will be available to us in Outlook very, very easily. We'll also give them a SharePoint site, because really you need to have a SharePoint site to be able to work on files together, to be able to collaborate and co-author on files. And let's go ahead and give them tools like OneNote and Planner so that they can schedule things, they can figure out how the tasks work together. And let's give them Skype. But let's not just give them Skype. Let's actually build out a new tool called Teams. And Teams will encompass everything that Skype does already, but it'll do everything a little bit better. So what you need to know moving forward is that Skype for Business will soon no longer actually exist. Skype for Business is just getting absorbed by this feature called Teams, this application called Teams from now on. So whenever you think about being able to message one another and you're not thinking about Outlook, but instead you're thinking about Skype, I want you to realize that you're going to be going into Teams for that instead. All right, so let's go ahead and see this in action. Starting from, here is a group of people who need to be able to communicate and collaborate at my company. So let's start in Outlook. Very easy to understand, a good starting place for us. I'm working for a company called Anderson Wiley. We provide financial services for companies, and we've decided to start working with Letitia Roca and a few other people at her company, Outlook Media Group, so that we can do some marketing. And we get together a team, Alejandro and Jacqueline and a few other people, and we're all going to work together on figuring out this whole marketing thing. Now, as this team comes together, I realize, you know what, we'll be sending emails back and forth, we'll be sending files back and forth, we'll have meetings. There's so much going on with this marketing project. Let's go ahead and create a group for those people. So if I go up to the New Items drop-down menu, you'll see that Group is one of my options right here. You'll also see New Group listed over here on the right-hand side, New Group. You'll also see it if you go over to Contacts, you'll see New Group listed there. Every time you see this generic listing of New Group, this is a new Office 365 group. Notice on the little pop-down it says they get an email address, they get a place for shared files, they get a group calendar, they get all of those different elements. If I happen to be working in Outlook Online, let's switch over to that very quickly here. So here I'm in Outlook Online, and if I use the drop-down menu next to New, I also see Group listed here. So whatever way you decide to create a new group is up to you. Let's go back over to generic Outlook for now. And here from Contacts, I'll go ahead and click on New Group, and I'm inventing a group of people at my company who need to be able to work on something. What we'll do is we'll call this the 2018 Marketing Project. Okay. Immediately upon naming it 2018 Marketing Project, notice the name 2018 Marketing Project at andersonwiley.com gets created. Now I can come in here and let's switch this up. I might call the group the 2018 Marketing Project group, but instead I'll give it the email address of Marketing Team Project, right, at andersonwiley.com. So your email address doesn't have to be exactly the same thing as the name of the group. You can name the email address independently. The description of this, let's see here, we'll call this group of people at Anderson Wiley working on 2018 marketing challenges. Okay. Now, as I go to privacy, you'll notice that if I want to, I can set up this group of people so that people who are outside the group can look into it and see our files and see what we're working on. Or I can set it up as private so that people who aren't on the marketing project cannot see those files. Because it's a marketing project and I want to be able to expose this to the executive teams and things like that, let's go ahead and make this group public. That way, other people in the organization can see the contents that we're working on. Now, notice below that it says that when we make this marketing project group, it says anybody who is on this will send all the group emails and all the events directly to their inboxes. And they can go ahead and unsubscribe from that if they want to, but that's what they'll see by default. So I'll click on Create. And now it'll ask me who's on the team. And as I said, Jacqueline and Alejandro and June and Devin and Hassan will all be members of the group. So Jacqueline, Alejandro, June, Devin, and Hassan are all marketing team members. I click on Add Members, and they will be part of the Office 365 group, the distribution list, etc. Notice that here in Outlook, instantly on the left-hand side, I have a groups listing, and the 2018 Marketing Project is created there. You'll also notice that this really looks like an inbox right here. So this is the messages for the marketing project group. You see they've got their own email. They've got their own calendar. I can click on calendar and I can see the calendar. See over here on the left? This is the group calendar for everybody on the 2018 marketing project. Let me go ahead and close that. I also see that I have a SharePoint site for files. I have a OneNote notebook, and we'll also be getting into Microsoft Teams. Now, at this point in the process, I'm going to go ahead and pause recording the video because here's what I want you to realize when you get into this on your own time. Microsoft's system now is going through and creating an email address, creating a calendar, creating a SharePoint site, creating a OneNote notebook, creating all these different elements for us automatically. And it's going to take a little while for that to happen. So I actually have to pause the recording here and let that go ahead and work. So in a second here, we'll pick up from that point where everything has been created. All right, it's about 10 minutes later. Now we can actually use this thing. Let's go ahead and see what it's like to use an Office 365 group. Well, right over here on the right-hand side, you can see that Neil and Alejandro and Devin and Hassan are all following this group of people. We have the ability to have a conversation with one another with marketingteamproject@andersonwiley.com. We have the team site, the SharePoint site that we can work on, and we can use other apps together with this. So I'm going to send a message. So I'll send a new email message. Notice that instantly when looking at this group, it's sending it to the rest of that group. I can say, "Hi team," fill this in, and hit send. I can see that there is a message here from me in this stream, right? So this is the email stream for that group specifically. When I look over at my inbox, I can see that my inbox is separate from the messaging that's going on for that group. Now I'm going to go over and be Alejandro for a second. All right, so I'm logged in as Alejandro on a second computer. I'll say, "Hi, Neil," and send that off. And let's just see what it looks like when Alejandro responds to my message. So there you go. We have this stream here of Neil and Alejandro talking to one another. Anybody else who's on this can pop in and have the furthering of that conversation. Now, besides that, let's go over to SharePoint, the files that we're all sharing with one another. So we're logging into SharePoint as the Neil Malek account here. As you can see, we have our document library where we can upload files to. We also have our OneNote notebook. We can click over here on Notebook and see the OneNote notebook that everybody on the team has access to. And in fact, I can click on the link that says Open in OneNote, and I can have direct access to this inside of the OneNote application. So I've got OneNote open and running. You can see I've got a notebook related directly to the 2018 marketing project, and it says we can add some sections to it. So I'll add my first section, which is initial planning phase, and then maybe I add another section for budgeting, another section for creative, and another section for assessment. So as we're working on this project, this marketing project, we have the initial planning phase, we have the budgeting phase, building creative, and then the assessment of how the marketing went. Now, if I come in here for initial planning and I put in our first meeting here, for example, I could say meeting on 8/4/18, and then I could fill in Alejandro, Jacqueline, and Hassan are all going to be at this meeting. Now, I want you to watch my screen very carefully. I'm just turning 15 degrees in my chair right here. I'm going to go over to my second computer where I'm logged in as Alejandro, and I'm accessing the same OneNote notebook Because again, Alejandro's on this team. Alejandro has access to this OneNote notebook. So what I'm going to do is pop over to initial planning, go to that meeting right there, and I'm going to put in our agenda. You see that on my screen over here where I'm recording? Alejandro Ochoa, which you can see by the AO that's right there, and the green goes ahead and demonstrates that Alejandro is putting in the agenda for us. Isn't that nice? Now, the same OneNote notebook we can access through the online portal, we can access it through OneNote itself, and we can go over to Microsoft Teams and access it. So now what we're going to do is we're going to pivot from what we know about, which is email, calendar, and sharing files with one another, over to something you probably haven't made use of yet, which is Microsoft Teams. The ability to chat, the ability to video conference, and the ability to do all this collaboration in another environment. So now again, I'm going to pause here for a second and move over to Microsoft Teams so you can see that experience. All right, so here I've opened a web browser and I've simply gone to office.com and logged in as myself. So if you have an Office 365 subscription, you have the ability to log into as yourself to office.com and get access to, as you can see here, your Outlook, your OneDrive, Microsoft Word and Excel, etc. But over here on the right, you also see Teams as one of my options. You'll also be able to see that on the waffle icon in the top left-hand corner. You'll be able to see Teams as one of your entries under Apps. And if you can't see it here, you can go to All Apps and you can look for Teams. Once again, as of the day that I am recording this, Microsoft Teams is now a free app for everybody. Everybody in the entire world can use Teams for nothing. And if you want to, you can spend as little as $5 a month for really just robust use of this tool. So there's really no excuse not to play around with it and see how Teams works for you. So here is Microsoft Teams opening in the browser. What is Microsoft Teams? It is a chat-based collaboration space. So the first thing you'll notice when Teams opens up is on the left-hand side of the screen, your entry for teams of people at your company is selected. And right now I have two teams. I have a support team for Acme Corporation and I have a Facebook marketing team. Well, I'm going to now make a new team for the Office 365 group that we had previously. So in the bottom left-hand corner, I'm going to click on the little button down here that says Join or Create a Team. And right here, it says Create a Team, right in the middle. Click on Create Team. And down here at the bottom, it says, if you already have an Office 365 group, let's go ahead and make a Microsoft team that is related to that Office 365 group that already has the same access to SharePoint, the same access to OneNote, the same access to your email, everything. So I'll click on Create a Team from an existing Office 365 group, and you see right there the 2018 Marketing Project group is the one we're going to make a team from. So I click on Choose Team, and it generates a team within Microsoft Teams for the group of people who are doing the 2018 Marketing Project. Okay, so as you can see right here, we have Neil Malek has just created this team and thereby added Hassan and 4 other people to this team. If I want to chat with any of those people, over on the left-hand side of the screen, the first thing we're going to take a look at is one-on-one chatting. Notice here I've clicked on the chat entry on the left, and it's automatically recommended that people like Alejandro, Hassan, Jacqueline, June, anybody who's already on one of these teams might be a person I want to chat with. So I could click on, let's say, Alejandro's entry right here, and instantly I create a new conversation directly with Alejandro. So I can say, hi Alejandro, have you seen the new schedule for August? And again, I'm going to pivot 15 degrees in my chair. I'm going to become Alejandro on my second computer over here, and I'm going to pop open the chat, click on the Neil Malek entry for chat, and I'm going to say, no, I haven't. Notice down there at the bottom of the screen, it says that Alejandro is typing back to me. Can you forward a copy to me? Boom, right there. Now, Alejandro just asked me for a copy of the schedule. Let's go ahead and grab any old file, doesn't really matter. I'm going to click on the attach button down here at the bottom. Notice, right there. Do I want to grab something off of my OneDrive? Do I want to grab something that's on my hard drive right now? I'll go to upload from my computer, and let's just go grab any old file. There we go. This file will be fine. See, it's attaching, cycling in. And I can push send. And just like that, the file is included in a message back and forth between myself and Alejandro. Think about that in real terms, the emailing functionality and how that normally plays out. Now, let's say I wanted to communicate with somebody who wasn't Alejandro. Up here at the top, I can click on the little pencil icon for a new chat, and I can write a new chat between myself and, let's go with Hassan. So I just type in HAS, it finds Hassan's account, and I go ahead and grab it, and then I say, hi, Hassan. Now, besides, of course, text, as you've seen so far, and attachments, we also have the ability to add things like smileys. Oh, very nice. Things like GIFs. I can do a search for something like hello. And, oh, there we go. Here, we'll do a bear. There we go. That's lovely, isn't it? All right, so we have smiley faces. We have GIFs. We have these... What are these called? They're stickers, I believe they're called. And we also have the ability to schedule a meeting from here. So we can send messages back and forth with one person. So this is our first layer in Microsoft Teams. We have this as a chat interface. And the beautiful thing is right now, if you got the Microsoft Teams app on your phone, you'd be able to get those instant messages straight to your phone and be able to chat back and forth just like you were texting with somebody. Now, let's go back to the team, okay? So we'll go back to the team, and we can see here we're having a conversation with the entire team, and I might say something like, hey, team, can you tell me your status so far? And this will go out into the world, and everybody who's on this team will see that little ping happen. Now, I'm going to go be Alejandro again. Alejandro sees that Neil Malek put out there into the world, hey team, can you tell me what your status so far? And if you notice that reply button that's right down there, Alejandro's going to click on the reply button and type in a little message. Something like, I've been completely loopy all day. Notice here that we get a little indent underneath Neil's original message when Alejandro replies directly to that message out there. Now, on top of that, watch what happens when Alejandro wants to start a conversation with Jacqueline. So you see this little thing right here, this little link that shows up? What Alejandro did in order to put this in here is he put in an @ sign and mentioned somebody's name. Watch what happens when he mentions my name. Now, you can see that same link idea as with Alejandro, but very importantly, this link is red because This is somebody mentioning me. I was mentioned on this message specifically. So you can imagine, you're communicating back and forth with your team in this chat interface, and it sort of goes by as noise. But when Alejandro specifically wants to talk to me, I see the red icon here. I see the red Neil Malek right here. And if I go over here to my activity, I can see that in my activity, he mentioned me right there. So this is our general conversation for the marketing project. Notice here we have this general chat. Now if I click on the little ... right here on the right-hand side, I can add another channel to this chat. And this channel is going to be underneath the 2018 marketing project team. So what would the 2018 marketing project team need to be able to discuss? They probably need to be able to discuss, let's say, television ads. And so I'll click on add right there. They probably need to be able to have a channel for internet ads. And they probably need to be able to have a channel for print ads, and click add. So now the marketing project team has 4 different channels of conversation that can focus our discussion. So if I want to talk about internet ads, I can click on the internet ads channel. I can say, hey, @Alejandro, this is where your script should go. And Alejandro could come back and attach a file for me. And there you go. There's the back and forth, the simple discussion, calling people at using the @ mentions, and being able to attach files directly to the conversation that's going on. Now, what's great about this is, let's say a new person joins up with the team, right? So I'll just go to the marketing project channel right up here at the top. And let's say that I'm interested in, let's say I'm interested in the script, right? I can click up here in the search box and just type in script and hit enter. And right there, the message of, hey, Alejandro Ochoa, this is where your script should go, immediately shows up. And this is not because it's mine. Think about this very clearly here, everybody. If this were in my email, if it were in Neil Malek's email, and Neil was looking for the animation ideas script, that would be fine. But this isn't me doing this search. This is Bob, this is Hassan, this is somebody else looking for the animation ideas script. They would have to know that that was in a conversation between myself and Alejandro if it were in Outlook. They'd have to come to me and say, hey, can you find that script that Alejandro sent you? But in this respect, I'm just finding it because it's somewhere in that space. It's in that shared space where everybody can have that joint conversation. Now, at this point in the process, let's go into the other types of things that we can do besides that basic level of conversation. Well, if up here at the top I click on Files, you can see here that instantly I have the animation ideas file loaded in here. I can click on Upload, and in fact I can add a few more things, right? I can add the document here, I can add a spreadsheet there, and I can click Open, and I can upload those directly. So now watch what happens when I click on Open in SharePoint right here. Right there, you see that? The 2018 Marketing Project SharePoint site has a document library called Documents, and then has subordinate libraries called General, Internet Ads, Print Ads, and Television Ads. Why are they called that? Because I had channels called General, Internet Ads, Print Ads, and Television Ads. Do you see that level of of being able to automatically have something that supports what you were thinking of doing anyway. When there are subordinate little segments of a particular project or what a team needs to work on, you can create channels for those, and then they're automatically given file locations for those. On top of that, let's say I go in here to my General tab and I go to my Wiki. Now, a Wiki is there so we can create general content pages for things people are interested in. So let's say, for example, that this idea that I have right now for the 2018 marketing project is we'll create a simple page name called Overall Project Goals, right? And there are 3 sections inside of the project goals page. The first section will be short-term goals. And then I'll hit a little plus sign here, add a section for long-term goals. And hit the little plus sign here and create a section for branding goals, just like that. And of course, you guys know what I'm going to do here. You can fill in some content here, you can fill in some content here, you can fill in some content here, and you can come in here and you can use the bolding or italicizing. You can add more layers of content here. So this is all in the wiki right here. This is the project goals page within the wiki. Now I'm going to click on the little, I've always heard this called the hamburger over on the left, and it's just because you can think of it as a bun and a burger in between the 2 buns there. Or you could call it a sandwich or whatever it is. Anyway, it's a menu icon. So you click on that little menu icon and you can see that there is a page called Overall Project Goals that has 3 sections in it. And then I can click on New Page right down here. And that new page could be something like Initial Planning Ideas, right? And then again, it could have sections and it could have content in it. I can go to New Page and I could say Budgeting. And so I can create this content that anybody who joins up with this group, or really anybody who wants to know what's going on with the project, they can immediately go look at the wiki and they can see what we've documented to this point in time. Now remember, when I created this group of people, I also created them as a public group. And that means the executives can come to this group and can inspect what's been going on in this group. I'll go back to conversations here. And again, you can see this consistent adding in of the different elements along the way. Neil Malek created a new channel, the conversation that's been going on, etc. Everything we've done to this point has been very, the terminology for it is asynchronous. Asynchronous means that you're not really bothering to get everybody together at the same point in time. You're not bothering for meetings and things like that. So instead, you're sort of organically saying whenever you stumble upon a file, whenever you stumble upon a message, you're going to respond to that message, you're going to contribute to the file, etc. Now, beyond that capacity, of course, we have the ability to go synchronous, that is to schedule meetings with people. Over here on the left, you'll notice that there is a meetings entry over here. When I click on it, you see what's actually happening here? This is my calendar. I'm logged in, and you can see here that the next meeting I have is for July 23rd. And so if I move forward, boom, there's that July 23rd meeting that Teams knows about because I'm plugged into it, because it's got my account information. So it's able to see this meeting that I have going on and allow me to work with that. And in fact, let me go back to today. And let's say that I want to have a meeting today. I can click on schedule a meeting right here. And instantly it pops open this dialog that says, yeah, okay, we'll have a meeting. It will be a Teams meeting. You see here I'm doing it inside of Teams, so it's a Teams meeting. It's got a time, right? So let's say general discussion. We'll schedule it for 2 in the afternoon to 2:30. That sounds good. And the people who are invited over here on the side will be, of course, Alejandro and Jacqueline. And I click on Schedule a Meeting. Now, if you notice, let me go ahead and click Close here. So this meeting that's on my calendar. And let me actually go pop open Outlook so you guys can see it. May take just a second. There it is. So there is my 2 o'clock in the afternoon meeting. I can double click on it here in Outlook. And you see here the link that other people will see in their Outlook potentially. Join the Microsoft Teams meeting. That's a link that they can click on to launch directly into Teams. Let's go ahead back to Teams here. So I'll go back, click on my general discussion here. Notice there's chat with the participants while I'm in, notice that wasn't in Outlook, right? That's only when I'm in Teams, because what do I do in Teams? I chat with people. So I can click on chat with participants. It pops open this general discussion chat, and I can say, hey, Alejandro and Jacqueline, da-da-da-da-da. And now Alejandro's going to notice a little chat bubble. He'll say, oh, look at that. Neil just sent me a message. Okay, so you can see here, Neil, Jacqueline, and Alejandro are having a conversation about this meeting called General Discussion that's happening at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. There are 2 participants to that meeting. This is the conversation around that meeting. These are the files around that meeting, and these are the meeting notes around that meeting. Look how robust that is. As you're getting ready to go to this meeting, you have the full notes page. You have a files area where you can send information. You can send presentations here. You can send all the attachments for this meeting here. And you can have a chat conversation with all of your people who are on this meeting. See how nice that is? So let's go back here. This meeting that I scheduled in Microsoft Teams, it has a link to join the Teams meeting, and I'll do that in just a second. But it has a link right here to be able to chat directly with the people who are invited to the meeting. And when I jump into that chat around that meeting, it gives me the full idea about what that meeting's about, what we've been talking about in preparation of this meeting, after the meeting, etc. Now, let's go ahead and talk joining the meeting. Now, I want you to notice here, if I go over to my meetings, I tend to like to run in Microsoft Chrome. And so when I click here, I'm in Chrome right now. When I click on Join the Microsoft Teams meeting, notice right there it says, sure, we can do this, but I think it's a good idea for us to open this in the app. See that right there? And so I can join it on the web, or I can download the app. And the reason why they're pushing me towards the app is because browsers like Google Chrome, Microsoft hasn't built it out yet so that the video chat works seamlessly in the browser. So I'm going to click cancel here and just take a second and talk to you guys about downloading the app. Notice in the bottom left-hand corner right here is Get App. I can simply click on that and download the app. Now, I'm actually going to discard this because, as you can imagine, I've already got mine on my computer. So I'll just go ahead and look for Teams. There's my desktop app from Microsoft Teams. Here it is loading up. You're going to see it's basically the exact same experience as you get through the browser. Okay, now really just take a second and look at how easy it is for me to make the mistake of not knowing where I am. Behind this is the in-browser experience for Microsoft Teams. You see the blue strip up here at the top. You see the chat and Teams and meetings and files. And then this is the app that's actually installed on my computer. See the blue strip at the top, you see the chat and Teams and meetings and files. So be careful about that. If you're in the desktop version of Microsoft Teams, you can expand this out. You can go to your meeting at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Let's say it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon now. I can click on Join the Microsoft Teams meeting. I can allow it access to my camera. Hey, welcome. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to join the meeting, and then I'm going to go be Alejandro for just a second. So I'll click on Join Now. Okay, so the Neil Malek account right here has joined the meeting. You can see it's full screen right now. Now I'm going to go over and be Alejandro right here. Let me just join the meeting. Allow access. And join the meeting. Whoa. So this is me, and this is me, and this is me, and this is me. Okay, we're going to close this out now. Let's go ahead and stop this process. Notice here, while I'm at this, we do have the stop video functionality, the video on and off. We have the audio on and off, as you would imagine. We have the ability to share desktop. Actually, let's go ahead and do that right here. Click on Share Desktop. Notice I can share the apps that I've got running right now, previous PowerPoint presentations. You see this PowerPoint right over here? I don't have anything open in PowerPoint right now, but the previous presentations that I've been working on are all listed here under PowerPoint. These are the things that are actually open. I've got a couple of web browsers open. I've got OneNote open, those sorts of things. So I can share any of those things. I can also, on the little ... there, I can record this. Now, this is kind of interesting. When we talk about recording a Teams meeting, one of the things we can do is we can get a subscription. Should I go over here? Yeah, I'll be over here. All right, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So over here on the side, this is the basic premise. Microsoft Stream is an app for recording this and allowing you to save it so that then later you can go back and view the recordings, and it'll actually do the audio transcription for you too. But that's sort of a bit further than we want to go with this webinar. So anyway, you can record your meeting, and of course you can hang up. All right, so we're going to leave the meeting there. Notice there that, you have the conversation as part of this. We have the ability to, here we go. Let me close this out. Lovely. Again, we have the ability to save our files in there, meeting notes. We have the ability to track information in OneNote or in the wiki. There's 1,000 different ways to work in here. Now, I'd like to return to our Teams tab over here on the left and start talking through some of the ideas that are in here and some of the expansions that we can work on. So once again, to recap where we stand so far. When we in Office 365 have a group of people working together to complete some kind of project, whether that team is supporting a client or a product, maybe they're working together to provide customer service, any possible combination of people working on something together, they would probably have an Office 365 group, and they'd probably have that group here in Microsoft Teams. That would allow them to carry on their chatting back and forth, sending little messages back and forth, potentially sending files like this PDF file to their coworkers, and allowing them to see that even in a mobile environment, even on their phones, they could get this information. Then, as they're working, those files that they trade back and forth automatically get saved into Microsoft SharePoint. Remember that this Files tab right here is really just a connection back to SharePoint that's holding on to a PowerPoint presentation, PDF files, whatever it happens to be, and we can get access to those and work on those files. We could also put together a wiki to allow people to see what we're talking about with this project. So here under the General tab, I believe, under the wiki, we had, yeah, there it is, short-term goals, long-term goals, branding goals for this marketing project. And then when that team of people needed to get together and meet, we have the Meetings tab, allowing us to interact with our Outlook calendar without even visiting Outlook in the first place, to open up a chat with the people who are coming to the meeting about this meeting, and allow you then, of course, to do a video chat just the same as you would within Skype. But here is the extension beyond that. Every channel that you go to in your team, you have the ability to click the little plus sign that's right here. And when you go to the little plus sign that's right there, this is for additional tabs of functionality that could be useful to these people. So think about the marketing project people. We click on the little plus sign there, and all of a sudden we have direct access to Microsoft OneNote. We have direct access to something like Power BI or Planner. We have the ability to load PDFs here. Microsoft Stream is a video player, so if we had a video library at the company, we could load that here inside of Teams. And even beyond that, we could load things like Evernote in here. Down here, we have MindMeister. MindMeister is for being able to do a mind map together. There's 1,000 different ways that we could use additional tabs when we're here inside of Microsoft Teams. Here's a simple way to look at this. Planner. So Microsoft Planner is our ability to do more big picture planning with our tasks than we can do inside of Outlook. So let's just compare and contrast here for a moment. Here is Microsoft Outlook, and here is our task list. Of course, we can go into our Outlook task list and make a new task just by double-clicking here and making a new task. And, you know, we could say, oh, yes, this is assigned to somebody, and there's a due date, and there's an start date, and things like that. There's not really a big picture there. So instead, what I'm going to do is go back to Office 365 with you. And from here in Office 365, I'm going to click the little waffle in the top left-hand corner, and I'm going to go over to Office 365 Apps and look for Microsoft Planner right there. Okay, so I'm going to Microsoft Planner, which is a new Office 365 app for better planning. I know that sounds crazy, right? So what's going on in this space? Well, in the exact same way that when you create an Office 365 group, you'd then go over to Teams and you'd use Teams with that, and you'd go over to SharePoint, use SharePoint with that group of people. Here, you can go to Planner and you can have a plan related to that group of people. If we click right here on All Plans, we see, yes, there is a 2018 marketing project plan that was automatically created for me. I did not have to do anything special here. I click on it. And as you can see, there's nothing in here, right? But here's what a plan is. It has these buckets of tasks to accomplish. Now, what's a bucket? If you do any research into project management, somewhere along the way, you'll find this idea of a Kanban board, where you're able to say, yes, we have every task in the world that needs to get accomplished, but I'm not really sure, who's doing what. I'm not sure what the priority levels are, what the order of things are, etc. So for instance, I can come here to this to-do bucket, right? And I can click on it and I can rename this bucket to something like required. And then over here where it says add a new bucket, I can do nice to have. And then when I hit enter, I have another add a new bucket over here on the right. I can click on add a new bucket and I can say, thinking about it. Okay, so now we have 3 buckets of tasks that our marketing project team needs to potentially think about. Things that are required, things that are nice to have, and things that we're thinking about. Maybe under required, we'll click on the little plus sign here and we'll say something like, get a marketing partner. That's absolutely a requirement. I just hit enter on my keyboard. Notice it didn't set a due date, it didn't assign it or anything. This is about getting these things out of your head. So now I'll say, oh, another task that we need to do is we need to hire new employees and hit enter. We need to create a budget and hit enter. We need to plan marketing creative and hit enter, and we need to assess and hit enter. And then I realized, you know what, hiring new employees, this is not a required task. Watch how easy this is with the buckets. I click hire new employees and I drag it over to the bucket for nice to have. I click on create a budget. Maybe I'm thinking about creating a budget. You can see how we can shuffle these around. We can click on something like get a marketing partner, and now we have more details here. So this is a required item. It's not started yet. Maybe let's say we're in progress with it. We started it today. It's due, let's say, on the 30th. We can add some attachments to it. And we can assign it to somebody. Let's say Alejandro is the person that's assigned to. And then we can just close that off. So now get a marketing partner is assigned to Alejandro and it's in progress. It's due on the 30th. Okay, so there's a lot going on here. You could definitely stand to teach yourself all about Microsoft Planner. But what am I ultimately getting at here? It's that within Microsoft Teams, if I go back over to my team, I can say, yeah, for the marketing project, I do have more things besides conversations, files, and the wiki. I can click on the plus sign. I could say I want to add a tab for Planner. And it says, okay, well, you can either create a new plan from scratch, or you can use an existing plan. I'm going to use an existing plan. And by golly, that's the 2018 Marketing Project existing plan. That's it. Hit save. And just like that, people who are working in teams, you see this? Do you see this experience right here? It's exactly the same experience as they would have had if they had gone straight to Planner. So this is really the beauty and the genius behind using Microsoft Teams. It is one space for dealing with your calendar, for chatting with your coworkers, sharing files, putting together a wiki, planning upcoming project tasks, carrying on video chats, or really anything else that I can think about when it comes to collaborating with my coworkers. And with that, I hope you really get a good experience as to how the Office 365 collaboration overview is really coming together for us. Microsoft has created 2 major tools in the recent years, Office 365 Groups and Microsoft Teams, that roll up a number of different things within them. Chat-based messaging back and forth, file sharing, video and audio chat, being able to schedule meetings, being able to co-author files together, and even through the use of tabs, being able to bring in a number of different tools that are useful for our collaboration. I appreciate you sticking with me for as long as you have. Please let me know if there's anything I can do for you after viewing this video. Have a wonderful day.